Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Have you ever felt like, there's got to be more to life than just chasing success?
I think a lot of us grapple with that question, yeah.
Like maybe there's a deeper purpose, some way to tap into something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's exactly what Shakti Gawain explores in her book, Living in the Light.
Living in the Light, a guide to personal and planetary transformation, right?
Yeah, that's the one.
So it's not just about personal growth, but like creating a more conscious world too.
That's the idea. It's a roadmap to becoming, the most empowered, authentic versions of ourselves and kind of using that to create a better world around us.
Okay, I'm intrigued. But she doesn't just jump into the how-to, right?
No, not at all. She starts with her own story, which is pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I was reading about that. She grew up in a non-religious family, right?
That's right. And she was pretty skeptical of traditional faith early on.
Which is interesting because that skepticism actually led her on this whole quest for meaning. Like beyond conventional ideas of success.
Exactly. It was like that very questioning led her to something deeper.
So what kind of things did she explore? I mean, she traveled the world, right?
Yeah, and those experiences, especially in India, really sparked her passion for what she calls consciousness and personal growth. You can see this shift in her, like from feeling lost and uncertain to finding her own unique path.
Yeah. I can relate to that feeling of wanting something more. It's like this nagging feeling that there's a whole other dimension to life that we're not tapping into.
Totally. And Gawain's story shows us that it's okay to question, to explore, to kind of create our own path. And she's really open about her struggles and vulnerabilities, which I think makes her even more relatable.
For sure. So all of this leads her to write Living in the Light. What are some of the key takeaways for readers?
Well, one of the most powerful ideas is this concept of living in the light.
Living in the light, what does that even mean?
It's about aligning with your true self, your intuition, what she calls your higher power.
Okay, but she's not talking about some external authority figure, right?
No, it's more like a source of wisdom and guidance that's within each of us.
So it's about connecting with that inner compass, that voice within.
Right, and trusting it.
But like, how do we actually do that? It sounds kind of abstract.
Well, she offers a lot of practical tools and techniques throughout the book. One of the most well-known is creative visualization.
Creative visualization. Oh yeah, I've heard of that.
She actually learned it through this program called the Silva Mind Control course.
Silva Mind Control. Sounds intense.
It's basically about training your mind to create a mental picture of what you want to achieve.
So you're visualizing your desired outcome. Is that it?
Pretty much. And she shares some really compelling stories about how this worked in her own life too.
So it's like visualizing what you want and then taking steps to make it happen.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. She believes that when we combine clear intention with focused action, we can really make things happen in our lives.
I've always been a bit skeptical of creative visualization, to be honest. It's always felt a bit, woo-woo to me.
I get it, but she's not suggesting we can just think our way to success. It's more about aligning our energy with our desires and then taking inspired action.
So it's not just wishful thinking, but about, putting in the effort, too.
Absolutely. She uses this great analogy of a gardener planting seeds.
Oh, I like analogies. Tell me more.
She says you can't just throw seeds on the ground and expect them to grow, right? You have to cultivate the soil, water them, give them sunlight. It's the same with our dreams. We have to create the right conditions for them to flourish.
That makes total sense. So it's about intention and action working together.
Yeah, it's a powerful combination.
So we've got living in the light, we've got creative visualization. What else does she explore?
Well, another key concept is intuition. Yeah, she argues that modern society often dismisses or even fears, non-rational ways of knowing.
Yeah. We're so focused on logic and reason these days.
But she believes intuition is a powerful tool for guiding us toward our true path.
I've definitely had those gut feelings that turned out to be right, or those times I ignored my intuition and then regretted it.
Exactly. We all have that inner wisdom, but we don't always listen to it. He encourages us to pay attention to those subtle nudges, those whispers of wisdom that come in the form of feelings, hunches, even dreams.
So it's about learning to discern that inner voice from all the other noise.
Yeah, it's about quieting the mind so we can hear our intuition more clearly.
That makes sense. So we've got creative visualization, intuition, anything else?
Oh, there's so much more. She delves into this concept of the world as a mirror, for example.
The world is a mirror. What does that mean?
It's like the people and situations we encounter are actually reflections of our own inner beliefs and patterns.
Wait, so you're saying the people we meet and the things that happen to us are like mirrors reflecting back our own stuff?
Exactly. She gives some really practical examples to illustrate how this works. She talks about how a Karen attracting unavailable partners might reflect a deep-seated fear of intimacy.
Oh, wow. That's kind of mind-blowing. Like, those annoying people we encounter are actually showing us something about ourselves.
It can be a tough pill to swallow, but ultimately it's empowering. It gives us a chance to take responsibility and create positive change.
So instead of blaming others, we can use those experiences as opportunities for growth.
Yeah, it's about shifting our perspective from why is this happening to me to what is this trying to teach me?
Wow, I'm already starting to see some patterns in my own life. This is making me think about all those times I've felt frustrated or resentful towards someone. Maybe those feelings were pointing to something within myself that needed attention.
It's a whole new way of looking at relationships, right?
Absolutely. So she talks about the world as a mirror. She talks about relationships. What about our relationship with ourselves?
That's a big one too. She really emphasizes self-love and acceptance.
Okay, self-love, I've heard that phrase a million times, but what does it actually mean in the context of living in the light?
She defines it as honoring our needs, expressing our truth, and recognizing our inherent worthiness, regardless of our achievements or, what other people think.
So it's about embracing ourselves fully, flaws and all, and being kind to ourselves.
Exactly. She believes that when we cultivate a strong foundation of self-love, it affects all our relationships in a positive way.
I could see that, but let's be real. Self-love can be tough, especially when we're bombarded with messages telling us we're not good enough. Not thin enough, not rich enough, not whatever enough.
Yeah, it's definitely a journey, not a destination, but it's about making a conscious effort to shift our mindset and treat ourselves with the same love and respect we would offer to, like, our dearest friend.
That's a good point. We're often way harder on ourselves than we would ever be on a friend.
Right, and she gives some tips for cultivating self-love, like practicing positive self-talk, setting boundaries, and doing things that nourish our soul.
So it's about taking care of ourselves, prioritizing our well-being.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that self-care isn't selfish. It's essential for living a fulfilling life. We've covered a lot already, living in the light, creative visualization, intuition, the world as a mirror, self-love, and there's still so much more.
We've only just scratched the surface of living in the light.
Yeah, there's so much more to unpack. So much to unpack with living in the light. Where were we?
We were talking about self-love, right?
Yeah, and how it's essential to Gawain's whole philosophy.
Right, like you can't really live in the light if you're constantly beating yourself up.
Totally. It's about recognizing your worth and treating yourself with kindness. And from that foundation of self-love, she dives into relationships.
Ooh, relationships. That's a big one. What's her take?
Well, she emphasizes that our external relationships, with other people, often mirror our internal relationship with ourselves.
Wait, so you're saying the way I relate to my partner is a reflection of how I relate to myself?
That's exactly it. Think about it. If you're always seeking validation from others, it might be because you haven't fully validated yourself.
That's interesting. So if our relationships are like mirrors, how do we use that to actually improve things?
It's about becoming aware of those patterns. Like, if you keep attracting partners who are emotionally unavailable, maybe it's because you haven't fully embraced your own emotional needs.
Ooh, okay. So we use those relationships to learn about ourselves.
Right. It's about asking yourself, what is this relationship teaching me about myself? What needs or fears are being reflected back to me?
Instead of just blaming my partner for everything.
Exactly. It's about taking responsibility for your own happiness. And this applies to all relationships, not just romantic ones, friends, family, colleague.
That's so cool. We often treat different relationships in different ways, but it all comes back to us.
Yeah. It's all connected. So we've got self-love as the foundation for healthy relationships. What else does she suggest?
Well, I'm guessing communication is important, right?
Definitely. Clear communication, setting healthy boundaries, honoring each other's needs. And she also talks about letting go of expectations and allowing relationships to unfold organically.
That's a good point. We often have these ideas about what a relationship should be, and then we get disappointed when reality doesn't match up.
Right. It's about accepting people for who they are. And you know what? She even suggests that the most fulfilling romance can be our love affair with life itself.
A love affair with life.
Yeah, fueled by that deep connection to our purpose and the universe within.
Wow, that's beautiful. It's like finding that passion and aliveness within ourselves rather than looking for it in other people.
Exactly. And when we cultivate that love for life, it affects all our other relationships too.
Okay, so we've talked about self-love, relationships in general. What about parenting? That's a whole other level.
She has some fascinating insights about that too. She sees parents as channels for the universe in raising their children.
Channels for the universe. What does that even mean?
It's like, imagine a parent not as the authoritarian figure, but as this conduit for universal energy to flow through.
So less about control and more about facilitating their kids' connection to something bigger.
Yes, and she emphasizes recognizing children as powerful spiritual beings.
Kids as spiritual beings. That's interesting. So treating them with respect, trust, all of that.
Exactly, understanding that they learn more from what we do than what we say.
Right, like kids are always watching us, even when we think they're not paying attention.
She even shares this anecdote about a friend's daughter who was raised with this kind of awareness. And the girl would say the most amazing things like, I know what I'm here to do, and I'm going to do it.
Wow, that's powerful. It makes you wonder what kids are capable of when we nurture their spiritual development. Okay, so we've talked about parenting. What about work and play?
Another big theme. She challenges our culture's obsession with achievement and productivity.
You mean like the work hard, play later mentality?
Exactly. She argues that it often disconnects us from our true purpose and joy.
I can definitely relate to that. Okay, but most of us have to work to pay the bills. How do we find that alignment when we're stuck in a job that we don't love?
She acknowledges that it's not always easy, but she encourages us to find ways to bring more joy and purpose into our work, even if it's not our dream job.
So even small changes can make a difference.
Yeah, maybe it's shifting your perspective, focusing on what you do enjoy, or finding creative outlets outside of work.
And of course, making time for play, right?
Absolutely. Engaging the activities that bring us joy and recharge our batteries. She suggests that when we prioritize play, it can actually enhance our productivity and creativity in other areas of our lives.
That's interesting. Okay, but let's talk about the big one, money.
Yes, money. She dedicates a whole chapter to it. She talks about money as a form of energy flow.
Money as energy flow, what does that mean?
It means that our beliefs and attitudes about money can either block or facilitate its flow into our lives.
So if I'm always worried about money, I'm actually creating more lack.
That's the idea. But if you shift your mindset to one of trust and generosity, believing that you're supported and provided for, you open up the channels for abundance.
Okay, but that's easier said than done, right? Especially when bills are piling in.
She suggests practicing gratitude for what you have, no matter how small it may seem.
So focusing on what I do have rather than what I don't.
Exactly. And she emphasizes taking inspired action, following your intuition, doing what you love, and trusting that the money will follow.
Do what you love and the money will follow. That's a classic. But what about those times when we're faced with financial hardship? She shares her own story of being broke, right?
She does, and it's an amazing story. She found herself completely broke with no savings or backup plan.
That sounds terrifying.
It was a scary moment for her, but then she had this realization that she was willing to do whatever the universe asked of her.
Wow, that's a big leap of faith. So what happened?
The universe provided, and the experience left her feeling completely fearless about money. She knew she would be taken care of.
That's so inspiring. It's like when we let go of our fear, we open ourselves up to receive the abundance that's always there.
That's exactly it. It's about surrendering to the flow of life, trusting that everything will work out.
This is reminding me of how she talks about the importance of trusting our intuition in all areas of life.
Yeah, like with making decisions, choosing a career path, even navigating relationships.
It's about tuning into that inner voice that knows what's best for us, even when our mind is telling us something different.
And she provides a lot of practical tips for strengthening our intuition, like practicing mindfulness, paying attention to our dreams, and spending time in nature.
So it's about quieting the noise of the world and listening to that still small voice within.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that it's a practice, something we get better at over time.
This is all so empowering. It's like she's giving us permission to tap into our own inner wisdom and create a life that's truly aligned with our purpose.
That's the essence of living in the light.
Yeah, it's amazing how much we've uncovered in this deep dive into living in the light.
It's such a rich book, right? So much to think about.
One thing that keeps coming back to me is that idea of integrating our spiritual and human experiences.
Yeah, that balance between spirit and form.
Like, she's not saying we should deny our human needs or try to escape reality.
Well, it's about finding harmony between the two, right?
Exactly. We can be both spiritual beings and fully embodied humans, living in this world with all its, messiness and beauty.
And you know what's cool? She even suggests that by integrating these two parts of ourselves, we actually become more effective agents for positive change.
Oh, that's interesting. So how does that tie into her discussion on social and political action?
Well, she addresses that concern that some people might have. The idea that focusing on personal growth can make people complacent about the world's problems.
Right, like, shouldn't we be out there marching and protesting instead of meditating?
Exactly. But Gawain argues that true and effective action actually comes from a place of inner clarity and alignment.
So it's like doing the inner work first so that we can show up in the world with more intention?
Yeah, it's like if we're trying to change the world without addressing our own, bagged. We might end up just perpetuating the same problems.
Yeah, I can see that. It's like trying to clean up a polluted river without addressing the source of the pollution.
Exactly. You got to start with yourself. And it's not just theory for her. She talks about her own experiences with activism, and she's open to getting more involved in the future.
It's always inspiring to see someone walking their talk. Speaking of walking the talk, she also talks about aligning our work and play with our purpose.
Oh yeah, challenging that whole work hard, play later mentality.
Right. She envisions a world where work and play blend seamlessly, where we're doing things we love and expressing our unique gifts.
And she encourages us to explore those wildly impractical fantasies, those hidden desires that we might think are impossible.
I love that. It's like she's giving us permission to dream big and to go after what truly lights us up. But of course, there's always the practical side to consider. What about money and abundance?
She's got a whole chapter on that. She talks about money as energy flow.
Okay, remind me, what does that even mean? Money is energy flow.
It means that our beliefs and attitudes about money can either block or facilitate its abundance in our lives.
So if I'm constantly worried about money, I'm actually creating more lacks.
That's what she's saying. But if you shift your mindset to one of trust and generosity, believing that the universe will provide, you open up to receiving more.
It's like changing the channel from scarcity TV to abundance TV.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that abundance isn't just about material wealth. It's about feeling grateful for what you have and recognizing the abundance that's already present in your life.
Yeah, shifting that focus from lack to gratitude. That makes sense. And you know what? It ties into her discussion about health, too.
Oh, right. How our thoughts and emotions affect our physical well-being.
Yeah, she talks about the world as a mirror, how our external experiences often reflect our internal state.
If we're constantly focusing on negativity and fear, it can manifest as illness in the body. But if we cultivate a positive mindset, it can actually promote healing.
It's like our thoughts and emotions have a direct impact on our physical reality.
And she's not just speculating. She shares stories of people who have healed themselves from serious illnesses by changing their beliefs.
Wow, that's powerful stuff. I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to my thoughts from now on. This whole conversation has been so inspiring, but I have to admit I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this talk of transformation.
It can be a lot to take in. It's a process, right? Not a one-time thing.
So it's okay to take it slow, be gentle with myself.
Absolutely. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. You can ask for support from friends, from family, from the universe itself.
That's reassuring. And she emphasizes celebrating our successes, no matter how small, right?
Yes. Acknowledging our efforts and appreciating the progress we've made.
It's so easy to get caught up in that not enough mentality.
It's a trap, but focusing on the positive, celebrating our wins, that helps us stay motivated.
This whole deep dive has really sparked something in me. I feel like I'm at the beginning of a new journey.
That's the magic of living in the light. It can really ignite your soul and inspire you to create a more fulfilling life.
It's definitely a book I'm going to keep coming back to, and for everyone listening, I highly recommend checking it out. You might be surprised by what you discover.
And we'd love to hear your thoughts. What resonated with you? What are you inspired to put into practice? Share your insights in the comments below.
And remember, this journey of self-discovery and transformation is an ongoing adventure. We're all in this together, creating a more beautiful and fulfilling world, one thought, one action, one choice at a time. Until next time, keep diving deep.